In addition, we can also update all of these. So this is going to be the email that we're sending it to. And we can just have it all within one object. And we can also include the subject. So it's a little bit neater when you're using either or. So that way we can remove out some of the content there and then add that in within the object format. So using the send mail, we've got all of the parameters within the object that we want it to send. So let's run that again. Go over to our inbox. And there's our content now coming in as HTML. We've got our attachment and the subject of the email, as well as the body contents. All being done with Google Apps Script. This lesson we're going to be covering how to send an email, also how to select a document, convert it into a PDF, also convert it into a specific file type. So if you want to convert it into HTML, you can do that as well. And then how to email that content out using both the Gmail app and the Mail app send mail services. This lesson is going to be covering how we can send an email to our Gmail using Google Apps Script. So open up a standalone within the Google Apps Script editor and then create a function. I'm going to just call this function send my email. And this is the function that we're going to run in order to run the code. So first off, we want to get an email address. And you can actually get the email address from the session where we're getting the active user. And within the active user content, we can get the email using this method. And you can log it out within the log. So this is going to be whatever the active email is. And of course, if you're sending an email to a particular recipient, then you can update that as well. So this is just coming from my email, but I'm also going to be using the same as the recipient email. So let's log out whatever the email address is that I'm using for this account. We're going to run the code. And right now, all it's going to be doing is it's going to be accessing the session, getting the active user. So we have to provide permissions to the code in order to run and access that information. And there's my active user that I'm using within this. So let's go ahead and we're going to define the rest of the parameters that we need. And the other one that we need is going to be the recipient email. And this is going to be the address that you're sending it to. So I'm going to just use the same address. And of course, if you are sending it to somebody, then you could apply a different address within the variable value. There's also another parameter that we're going to require, and that's going to be the subject. And I'll just give it a string value of test emailing. So this is the subject that's going to appear within the subject of the email. And then also we need the body. So these are all string values that we're adding in, and type in some content within the body. And then now in order to send the email, we can use the Gmail app service and send an email from there. And then populate the parameters that it's going to require in order to send the email. So it needs the recipient email, it needs the subject, and then it needs the body. And you have also optional parameters that you can add in, such as the from parameter. And this is going to be just coming from whatever email that we've set within the from parameter. In an example, what it does is it's going to use the Gmail app class to send an email, sends emails within the function, retrieves the email address from that we're sending it to, as well as the current active email address. So let's go ahead and we're going to run that. And we're going to have to accept permissions because we're using the Gmail app. And accepting the permissions within the Gmail app. And now when we go to the inbox, we've got our security alert that we are granting access. And then there's our email that we've sent. There's also another option that we can send it using the Mail app service. So let's go ahead and we're going to comment out. And the Mail app is very similar to what we've got within the Gmail app. And it's actually more effective if the only thing that you want to do is send an email. There's the Mail app service, so the Gmail app. and we can run the code again. We need to accept separate permissions. Mail app is separate permissions than the Gmail app. And it can only simply send the email. So it's not going to actually access the Gmail account. It only sends the email. And then here we can see that once we go back to the inbox, we've got our other security alert there. And then there's our email that we sent. There's also some additional parameters that you can add in, just as we saw with the Gmail app. So if we had a particular file that we wanted to include, so we can include the blob of the file. So let's go ahead and we're going to select that using the, first let's select the file that we want to add into what we're sending. And we need the drive app service in order to do that, where we're going to get the file by ID. And then we also need to select the ID of the file that we want to send. So this is going to be the ID. Let's select a file, going over to the file itself, opening it up and selecting within the URL. That's where we can grab a quick ID that we can then use. And that's the ID of the file that we're going to be using. And then place that within the get file by ID. So that's going to select the file object. And then we want to create a blob out of the file. So using the utilities service, and then the new blob, and then the type of blob that we want to create. And we can just give it a name of my content. Let's create it as text HTML, the blob. And then we'll save it as my HTML, and then give it an extension of HTML. So we want to send this as an attachment. So there's still the same email. We can keep the same subject within the body, whatever content we want in the body. And then from here, we can set up, and we've got some options here. So one of them is going to be the attachments. And this is going to be done within an array format. So we've got to use the rounded or the square brackets. And then we're selecting the file get as meme type is going to be a PDF.
So that would be converting the file directly as a PDF. And our second option is to use the blob that we created within utilities, and this is going to send an HTML file. So if the file can be sent as an HTML, you have two options. You can send it as a blob, and then that will automatically send it within the email as an attachment of whatever the blob type is, or you can send it as a PDF directly right from the file. Also, you can update the different properties within the object, such as setting up the name.
And we're going to actually remove out the from, because we don't need that within this object. So let's try that and accept the permissions once again, because we've added in the drive permissions. And then allow that to send. And now let's go over to our inbox. And we see that we've sent the two documents. So we sent one as the HTML document, and then we've sent the other one as a PDF. So you can also, only if you wanted just to send it as a PDF, that's an option as well. So you don't have to have the two documents. You can just send it as just the one PDF, and that will automatically convert the doc into a PDF. And then you can comma separate additional documents as needed. If you want to add HTML into the body of your email, you can do that as well. We'll update this to be HTML, and then set this up just as a paragraph. Save that. And then instead of sending it within the body, we're going to send it within the HTML object. And then here within the HTML, we'll set it as HTML body. And there we can just add in whatever we've got the string value for body there.